Robert and I lost our daughter at 15 weeks. And 6 months after that, we lost another at 6 weeks. And we were not planning on trying again. And 2 weeks after that, we got pregnant with Cullen.
Like any couple, I guess they thought it was going to be easy, and it turned out not to be.
At 13 weeks, I had them put in a preventative cerclage so that we wouldn't lose him since we lost our daughter. But that actually caused my water to rupture. And from 14 weeks on, I had bleeding and contractions that wouldn't stop. Finally, at 18 weeks, they admitted me. They just watched for infection. They said there wasn't really much more that they could do. And they wanted to take the cerclage out. And I told them no, because they will not save a baby before 24 weeks, no matter what. And Robert and I had to call 16 hospitals in 3 states ourselves to find one that would save a baby before 24 weeks.
It was pretty scary. I felt defeated. I didn't know why a hospital would not agree to at least try. And then it made me angry because they wouldn't.
I did not know that hospitals could just tell you no. I didn't know that was a thing. If a baby was born alive, I didn't know somebody could just simply say no until you're in those shoes. We just wanted to keep trying, and I didn't care where the hospital was or how far we had to go. Luckily, we didn't have to go very far. From then, we called USA, and we were calling every hospital just simply yes or no, will you help before 24 weeks or no? Just yes or no. And we found USA.
And we, told her, yes, we resuscitate.
We had to set up the transfer ourselves.
So it was a little bit of a drive to get her, to us safely, of course.
And transferred at 21 weeks.
I was excited, and especially that it was so close and it was so well known for the tiny babies.
The problem with tiny babies are that immature, the mortality is very high, okay? It can be even more than 50%. That's number one.
The baby's lungs are not mature at 21 weeks. So everything that's going on with baby on the inside, mom is supplying. They're not able to do those things outside of mom.
Then if the baby survives, there are definitely risk of increased neurological problem later on, which can be fairly severe.
I knew that they were dangerous for Colin. I did not know it was that dangerous for her.
We started out, having contractions, and then everything went smooth. We'd go upstairs, but then I'd start contractions again and go downstairs and then back upstairs. So it was a lot of back and forth. I didn't really get to settle in much anywhere. And then things progressively got worse.
And then it wasn't long after she had, been admitted to our facility that it was time for Colin to make his arrival.
Dr. Wilson came in and she did a vaginal exam.
And that's when they asked me if they could take out the cerclage. I agreed to let them take it out. They thought I was in labor. And they realized that there's another stitch further up, so they took that out. And when she took that out, she pulled out clots the size of her hand and said that she could see tissue. And they said, we have to go now.
I walked in and the doctor said, we're having the baby now.
And they shoved a catheter, put a thing over my head, like I didn't even have time to even think about it, and wheeled me across the hall. And within not even 5 minutes, they're cutting.
We prepped Molly for delivery. We also notified our NICU team. So we proceed to the OR, and that's where we have our OB team and we have our NICU team. So there are a lot of people in that delivery. We have anesthesia, our OB doctors, we have our nurses, we have our scrub techs, and then our NICU team is prepping our warmers for the baby.
They told me as long as I could stay calm and everything that I could stay awake. So the whole time I just begged and prayed to God to not let me die before meeting my baby and before saying goodbye to my oldest, and to not let my baby die.
The placenta was completely detached from mom, and that is very serious. You have minutes to get the baby out. This was a life and death situation. That's why we wanted to make sure that we did move urgently.
I was crying, she was crying, Robert was trying to hold it together. And there were 20 people in the room, at least. And it seemed like hours and hours.
So for delivery of a premature baby, It's definitely different than a term baby. They do a vertical incision versus a transverse incision, and that's because of the position of the baby when it's premature. They're not ready to come, so most babies are not head down. We deliver babies under 1 pound, and so that was like, oh my goodness, it's a miracle, baby's still alive. Our NICU team is there working with baby.
It did not take very long at all. My husband said they had a line of medication because my heart rate and my blood pressure were both going back and forth. But when he came out, he cried, but it sounded like a little kitten. And I looked over at my husband and asked if that was him. And he said, yeah. I mean, barely could hear it, but he cried.
Well, the first hurdle was that he get here alive, so I was relieved at that.
It's a big relief in the OR room. I think everyone just takes like a big breath, like
13 ounces. So just think it's just a little bit bigger than a can of Coke.
It's just crazy to see it from the outside. I mean, you know they're tiny, they tell you they're tiny. You can compare it, on your app to what size they are. But even if I showed you a picture, you don't realize how small until you're there.
My hand is not big, and as you can see, it can fit in that one hand. And of course, the skin is like translucent. You can see through, but everything about the baby is formed. All fingers, all toes.
His eyes were still fused shut. His skin was very transparent. He was intubated. Couldn't touch him or hold him or anything for almost a month. It was a lot. None of the doctors thought he was gonna make it.
I remember the first time I laid eyes on Colin, he was on the warmer on one of the highest ventilators that we could provide support to him.
We try to keep them in an environment like the womb. It's warm inside the isolates. We give them their barriers around where they can just push a little bit and back up.
So, it's a hard thing to see your child laying on an, open isolate, open warmer, and you can't touch them. Molly and Robert they listened. They wanted to do what was best for him because they were his advocate. They were Colin's advocate before he was born, and they were definitely his, biggest advocate while he was there with us.
I would describe this the stay in a small baby unit like it's a long journey. It's a long journey which will last between 2 to 6 months, sometimes longer.
I was there for 2 more days and I got to go home, which was hard, going home without him. And after about a week, I was back to driving. My husband, Robert, had to go back to work, and so I had to drive myself and start the process of splitting my days between both kids every day for 5 months. My mom had to move in to our house to take care of our oldest because he was still in kindergarten.
I didn't get to see him for a while, but I heard that he was born. But eventually, like a couple months later, I got to do this robot on a tablet, and I actually got to see him and say hello to him for the first time.
I would drop Caden off at school and go straight from school to the NICU. Stay till mid-afternoon and then go pick Caden up and go home. And on the weekends, I would ask Caden, do you want to do something in the morning or do you want to do something like in the evening? And I kind of just split the time between them and go to the NICU. And my mom would watch Caden while we went.
It was very unique because there was not a lot of problems with him. It's just like, I'm here, I'm gonna show them what my 2% is like, and I'm flying out of here. So, and that's what he did.
Well, they always tell you, they can't tell you exactly when they're coming home, but it's normally around their due date. And his due date would come and go, and we still couldn't go home. It got harder towards the end. When he got bigger, and I wanted to just run and snatch and run my baby out of the door, but I couldn't. I think the end was harder than the beginning.
And once we got, they were properly trained and they had several nights with all of the equipment, and we could see that Colin was ready. It was time to graduate.
We always went to Build-A-Bear, and when we were there, it happened to be around graduation time, and I saw the cap and gown, and I thought, that's really cute. I was like, I bet that would fit.
So many great stories about kids this morning, so how about one more, you guys? Let's meet little Cullen Potter, graduating from the NICU, yes.
And of course they're videoing because it's hilarious, and I never expected it to go where it went.
I was surprised. I just walked in the corridor and suddenly found this with the music, and this was very heartwarming and funny at the same time.
Because Molly had bought the cap and gown just to take pictures, and he was just so stinking cute. I had to show him off.
It's crazy, and every year when it's the time that he was supposed to come home, I still make him wear it, even though it doesn't really fit anymore. He'll still put it on. He'll put the hat on.
Thank you, say. Cullen Joseph Potter.
Cullen Joseph Potter?
That's my original name. And I always love my blanket. And I love TVs. And I love Mama and my brother. And Mama too. I love all of y'all guys.
Thank you. It was the best. Get to see both of my babies finally together. My oldest, Caden, couldn't go into the NICU. So he only got to see his brother on a screen. And he cried when he got to hold him. And just to see them together, he wouldn't let him go every day we were there. You know, I don't think he understood really too, like, what was going on and how small he was. But all I wanted was all my babies together.
It was very fun seeing that I now had a sibling. I was happy that I would have someone to play with and hang out with for the future, because when I didn't have friends over and I didn't have a sibling yet, it got kind of lonely. Nice, kind, crazy, funny, basically everything. Good. He does all kind of weird stuff.
That boy is a trip. He has a giant personality and a tiny little body. He loves the spotlight, as you've seen, and he will talk and talk and talk and tell you all about anything that you need to know. His brother, Caden, is his best friend, and so anything Big Brother likes, he likes. And they are connected at the hip to each other.
Colin loves to play outside. He loves to play with other children. He doesn't care how old they are. Sometimes he says he wants to be a veterinarian when he grows up. Sometimes he says he wants to be Iron Man. He's just a joy to have in our lives.
We work to provide a family. These parents have fought to bring this child into the world, and we want them to have a family outside of Children's Women's.
Our goal is to provide the same level of care that you would get in a bigger city with a bigger hospital, a bigger university. We want to provide the same thing.
If you have a high-risk pregnancy, USA's the best place because we have the best NICU around that does amazing job with all the infants that we take care of.
I mean, that's the only place that not only would save Cullen or give Cullen a chance, not only because Dr. Ayel and all the research he's done, but because of the staff and the nurses and the care that they put into those babies. And not just babies, but the family as well. People like Mr. Matt, that Cullen was always the first baby he wanted to go see. He's there every week like clockwork, making coffee and checking on the babies and checking on the nurses.
I've been privileged to see firsthand what they do. I'm up close and personal, so to speak. They're locked on those babies, and they work 12-hour shifts, and it's 24/7 there with them. And when you're there, there's nothing like seeing those healthcare workers. They're heroes in my book.
They're just great people, down from the janitor all the way up.
I always say that like our work team is like family because we all pitch in together, we help each other.
Wouldn't ask for any better work family. It's just a great feeling to work with a group of people that you know that they will have your back when something happens.
see somebody like Colin. It makes you very happy. It justifies, it reinforces, yes, we're right to let the parent choose. We practically never refuse any baby. It's our role. That's why we're here, to take care of sick newborns, a baby. And let me tell you, sometimes this is not easy. And that's where, this team is ready to take on. Doesn't grumble, nothing, takes it, whatever it takes.
I don't know if they know how important they are, not just to the babies, but to the parents. I mean, they are I wouldn't have a baby. He wouldn't be here. He would have died if it was not for everyone at that hospital. And I can't look at my 4-year-old and think what I would do without him here. And the fact is, if I would have stayed in my local hospital, he would not be here. And it's because everybody there does their part and what they need to help. And thank you will never be enough.
At the beginning, they didn't think there was anywhere that would even try. But he found USA. And I'm so glad he did.